The Parker Bowles family, at the height of the relationship, the scandalous relationship between the then Prince Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles.
Queen Camilla's position in the royal family has always been debated, given her history with King Charles and late Princess Diana. And at the moment, the atmosphere seems to get more heated with recent happenings. Her son from a previous marriage, Tom Parker Bowles, had a bit of an awkward encounter with Princess Anne that has sent tongues wagging. But before we get into all that, let's take a moment to understand Tom's position with the royal family. Tom Parker Bowles was born on December 18, 1974, and was always a figure of intrigue due to his position between the world of royalty and the more grounded sphere of ordinary life. He was born to Camilla Shand and Andrew Parker Bowles, hence outside the line of succession to the throne, although his mother later married King Charles III. It is this position that really shaped much of his life, his relationship with the royal family and his career choices, taken in a very different direction from that associated with monarchy. Tom had a somewhat normal childhood, away from the scrutiny generally associated with monarchy. His parents were significant members of British society, but their lives were not controlled or limited by the rules and scrutiny that surrounded royalty. His childhood was thus normal for a child of privilege, though it did have its own stresses associated with the public interest in his family. His education followed the traditional path for children from his social standing. He was educated at Eton College, arguably one of the most prestigious schools in the UK, churning out generations of leaders and influential figures. Later, he went on to Worcester College, Oxford, where he pursued higher education in English. Since his childhood, Tom was fascinated with food and writing, the two things that would later form his identity. While other members of the royal family would have their career choices largely dictated by duty and convention, Tom was free to do as he pleased. He chose to become a food writer and critic, eventually carving out a niche in a world quite removed from the circumstances of the royal life. After the year 2000, Tom started doing some serious business as he began to write for notable magazines like The Mail on Sunday and Esquire. The witty, erudite, sometimes irreverent manner of his contributions soon drew notice, and soon he was no stranger in the world of food journalism. He has written a few books over the years. Among them are The Year of Eating Dangerously and Full English, A Journey Through the British and Their Food, which chronicles his adventures and views on food. The work earned him accolades, including top-tier awards such as the Guild of Food Writers Award. Tom is so committed to his craft, and his ease with the audience has allowed him thus far to construct a successful career for himself, discrediting the assumption that people will take him seriously only as Mummy's boy. Despite the fame, Tom had had his good share of press speculation and intermittent controversy linked to the royal family. He himself has never spoken of any ill will, but over the years there have been a number of hints at tension, especially as the love between King Charles and Camilla took flight, which ultimately divorced both their marriages and engendered an awful lot of really negative comments from the general public. This wasn't easy for Tom or his sister Laura. The high level of media attention focused on their mother, and her part in the breakdown of Charles's marriage to Princess Diana made for uncomfortable and tense times. Reports have suggested that Tom and Laura did not always see eye to eye with Prince William and Prince Harry at the time. The two families coming together was far from smooth. The feeling that always ruled the public's perception of Camilla as the other woman was a shadow the family had to work through. The younger generation of royals has more often than not seemed to keep a cordial relationship in public, but sources close to them have made it known that the bond between Tom and the royal family remains somewhat distant. That is not very surprising in light of how he has somewhat managed to live a separate life from all the royal attention since joining the royal circle. He had been much more vocal previously as a person staying away from the limelight to enjoy quality times more with work and family. Not being burdened with the inconveniences of public duty as his two royal stepbrothers are, Tom has been in a position to pursue his interest without any sense of obligation to anyone. That freedom has allowed him to develop his identity, but also, to a large degree, be separated from the royal family. Tom has spoken in interviews about how he feels about his mother's position and what that means to his life. He has said time and again that he is not a member of the royal family, and he does not consider himself part of their world. The distinction means a great deal to him, as it would enable him to conduct his life and career on his own terms. He has attended few royal events and his appearances have been limited. He has, for the most part, avoided becoming a public figure in the context of the monarchy. Tom's personal life has also reflected his desire for independence and normalcy. He married fashion editor Sarah Baez in 2005, and they have 2 children. However, this marriage also ended with a divorce in 2018, but since then, Tom has been a committed father and put his family first. He has kept such a low-profile personal life that he has distanced himself from the circle of the royal family, going his own way and not getting tangled up in some complex relationships with the royals. Years have passed, and sometimes Tom would find himself right in the center of all eyes because his mother is the wife of the king. He has, however, largely managed to keep his life private and his passions out of the glare that comes with being a royal. It followed naturally that he continued to bloom into the role of a food critic and writer. He now assumes a place of respect among recognized voices in everything that concerns food. This is the culmination of talent, coupled with years of determination and hard work. The relationship between Tom Parker Bowles and the royal family was always a standoffish kind, one which was encouraged by Tom himself to keep his sanity and self-esteem intact. Reports of a recent incident at a charity event prove that Tom might not actually be welcome in the inner circle. Tom reportedly attended an invite to one such event arranged by the members for some noble cause. This would seem to have been an invitation that finally thawed what had hitherto been a cold relationship between him and some members of the royal family. According to reports, the event took a dramatic turn when Princess Anne, a no-nonsense royalist with much respect for the integrity of royal functions, turned Tom away at the gate. If true, that incident points to the fact that his connection with the monarchy still has its fair share of sensitivities lying beneath. Though details about the rumored incident remain unverified, speculation about Princess Anne's alleged decision might have centered on Tom's past controversies. Probably the most high-profile issue attached to his public persona has been his arrest for drug possession back in the late 1990s. The incident at the time made front-page coverage in the British tabloids and seemed to cast a dark shadow over Tom's budding career as a food writer. He did apologize and took responsibility for the incident. However, the arrest fired up public debate on his behavior and what it might mean for his already highly scrutinized mother and her then relationship with Prince Charles. This incident could be why the royal family is being cautious about making him present at high-profile events. Princess Anne has always been very careful about the reputation of the monarchy and is known to be a character with a pretty strong sense of duty. Probably she saw him as a potential risk to the charity, considering his history and the possible perception that would emerge from it. She is said to have resolved to lock him out, perhaps to prevent any chance of shifting some attention from what the event was about, and also saving the royal family from a well-rehearsed image. Another possible reason for the reported incident is that Tom usually speaks to the media about the royal family. Indeed, over the years he has given a whole slew of interviews in which he is abundantly candid, not just about his relationship with his mother, but also about her as queen consort. In a string of interviews that were laced with both wit and humor, there have been remarks that a great many may deem irreverent or overfamiliar when referring to members of the royal family. In one example, Tom had spoken with pride and assurance of his mother's role, first in playing down the difficulties that she faces, while reflecting his own desire not to become embroiled in royal matters. Comments like these may mean nothing to many, but to the conservatives in the royal fold, They simply diminish the respect and dignity accorded to all those who have any connection with the monarchy. One would understand that the media blowing up his comments complicates an already rather ambiguous position. The headlines tend to sensationalize his remarks, framing them in ways that are suggestive of there being more of a split or tension than perhaps really is. All this creates a self-perpetuating cycle where everything Tom says is sifted and interpreted for its representational value to greater familial discord. Stories like this in the public domain may be destructive to the members of the royal family who value discretion. This incident in a charity event speaks of more general cultural premises about the expected behavior of members of the royal family and those associated with it. Tom's position, in so many ways, is symbolic of those who face difficulties simply because they occupy some sort of space between royalty and the wider public. Of course, he is not of royal blood himself, but any relation to monarchy, via mother or otherwise, puts him under that scrutiny which often can be both intrusive and cruel. This is further exacerbated by his past and the fact that the media can at times portray him as the black sheep, despite the fact that he has considerably cleaned up both his professional and personal life in recent years. Interestingly, one can look at what interpersonal dynamics within the royal family contributed to the so-called incident. Considering that Princess Anne has always been reputedly outspoken and uncompromising, her actions, if correctly reported, were not born out of personal vendetta, but out of high principle. As it were, speaking of Tom himself, the incident reported may have stood for an illustration of his relation to the monarchy. The significance of moments like this brings forth the difficult proposition of conducting a relationship with an institution so relentlessly scrutinized, having very inflexible sets of expectations. If true, that has no doubt further set in him the resolve to chart his course unencumbered by restraint and controversy. Notwithstanding the case at hand, Tom has continued with the same seriousness in his professional and personal life. He continued to write and speak about food matters with passion and knowledge, making him known among his audience. That he has managed to do well in his professional life, despite challenges emanating from his public persona, speaks much about the resilience of the man. The charity event finally is a show of greater tension in defining his relationship with the royals, as one enduringly in a complex position, connected to and yet separate from the monarchy. Through it all, Tom has remained true to himself and forged a life-balancing individuality with the unavoidable realities of his heritage. On her part, Camilla has had to juggle precariously and emotionally between duty to the British monarchy and being a mother to her two children, Tom Parker Bowles and Laura Lopes. In recent years, this juggling has fallen under increasing public scrutiny as tensions within the royal family periodically break to the surface, testing Camilla's ability to balance the awkward conjunction of her personal life and her life on display. Probably the most distressing of all accounts reported, which involved her son Tom being rejected at a royal charity event, put into perspective for many the often competitive loyalties Camilla must balance between her children and the traditions and reputation of the royal family. Now, as Queen Consort, Camilla has assumed an office that demands devotion to the image and ideals of the monarchy. She will be called upon to exude an example of dignity, discipline, and discretion made customary for the British royal family. This is a responsibility where one is expected to neglect personal feelings or relationship ties for the greater good. One thing that always prevailed through so many changes in her monarchy function is the close relationship between Camilla and her children. Through the years, both Tom and Laura have stood by their mother against all kinds of public scrutiny and criticism, targeting her for her relationship with King Charles III. However, this proximity does not save them from many challenges associated with membership in the royal family. Of all these, Tom had been in the line of media fire since his arrest for drug possession in the 1990s. These, of course, did not define him, but have arguably created a perception that he is some kind of an unpredictably wild presence in the circle. a perception most likely swaying Princess Anne's decision to reportedly turn him away. Another layer of difficulty to this incident is that Prince William reportedly sided with Anne on this matter. As the future king, William would also want to see the monarchy maintain its image and its continued role in an ever-changing world. So, he supports Anne's decision as a means of assuring a united and disciplined royal front, even if difficult or unpopular choices have to be made. Still, for her to handle William's reaction would have taken the drama to another level, as generational factors and different responses within the circle to deal with such situations involving its members were brought out. For Camilla, however, it was a personal and exhaustive affair. The motherly instinct to defend would naturally arise for her son and his integration. However, being queen consort takes a more panoramic vision, one in which the institution of monarchy comes before personal relationships. It is this duality that has seen Camilla having to make choices time and again under the harsh glare of public scrutiny. This is a hint of a greater struggle. Camilla's children are not royals, but through their mother, they will forever be linked with the monarchy, which places them in this extraordinary position of coming under scrutiny and the burden of expectation not fairly laid on them. In the case of Tom, the food writer and critic who has made quite a name in this line of work, the association has proved pretty fair weather. While it no doubt opened many doors for him, it has simultaneously made him the target of criticism and judgment whenever his actions or words are perceived to reflect poorly on the monarchy. William's reported support for Anne's decision underlines his pragmatic approach to royal duties. Having grown under the full glare of public scrutiny, William is all too aware of the need to manage the monarchy's image and reduce sources of controversy wherever possible. The reason for his siding with Anne shows the shared commitment to these principles, particularly where decisions are of an exclusionary nature. This would have aligned William and Anne, a disposition that, in the light of wider institutional tugs of war which often override personal links, would be all the more problematic for Camilla's attempts to navigate. Since then, Camilla has struggled to impress, but she has been undaunted in her new role of queen consort. That she has kept excellent relations with her children and her royal counterparts proves a great deal about her diplomatic sense and emotional intelligence. While the incident had probably been a wellspring of pain and tension, it also represents the complications and sacrifices associated with her position. Since that whispered event, Camilla has maintained the balancing act for one who owes duties to the monarchy, as well as continually providing unwavering support towards her children, working well into her call of duty as queen consort, both diligently and with tact. Needless to say, this is small compared to the scrutiny accompanying her work. Of course, for Camilla, it is the negotiation of those competing demands that has made her legacy one of strength and resilience in adversity. The alleged incident with Tom and Princess Anne touches old tensions and complexities that still, it seems, haunt the inner circle. This goes to show that even those who have everything are not immune to the difficulties that can beset familial relationships and competing loyalties. In Camilla's case, it is a given constant that colors all of her actions and decisions in public and private life. Though this may weigh down relations, it underlines her commitment to the discharge of her responsibilities with integrity, in the face of difficult decisions and emotional dilemmas. So what do you think about the whole drama? Let us know in the comments and we will see you in the next video.